Hello and welcome to Bonsai with Tom. Today we're going to do a little pruning. Specifically, I'm going to prune some of my large cuttings. These are cuttings that I started. You can see this one has grown quite a bit and is cooking with gas, as I like to say. Usually start them with water propagation and then put them in soil. And this will be their first kind of pruning off and wire them in. You can see this one. Take a little look at this tree. But, it's kind of nice because you get a pretty sizable plant right from the get-go. You can see the trunk looks nice. It even has some bark development. But let's take a look at where this tree came from. So this is the parent, and you can see on the left here, this was much, much taller. And the cutting we were just looking at was basically the top of this um, tree. And it's kind of interesting because I had worked on this tree a few times. I think I have several trees that I've cut off of this tree because I just didn't like the styling and I kept changing it. And so that's where the first tree that we're going to prune today came from. This is the parent tree here, and as I said, it was the top. And yeah, I put it in water, and then it grew roots, and then I put it in some soil. I think I have it in the akadama mix I like to use, and yeah, it's really taken off, and it's ready for its first pruning. So the tree's kind of filled out a bit and looks nice, and it's firmly in the pot now, and so I don't think I need these wires on here, which is, it's kind of unsightly, so I'm just going to cut them off. These are my little Japanese wire cutters I've had for a very long time. This is just a fabulous tool. I really recommend if you do any kind of wiring, you really need something like this because you can get in there and take the wire off and not damage the bark or torque the tree or anything. They're just really a nice tool that I haven't really found a replacement for. Many times you can just use scissors for anything. Not for this. I think, you really want a specialized tool to get this wire off of there. Or you can just kind of pull it off, but I don't know. I just generally don't like reusing wire. I consider it sort of like brakes in your car, serves a great purpose, and then I get rid of it. So there we go. That looks a little better already. And I kind of like this. The trunk kind of comes straight up, which is kind of it just looks like a stronger tree to me that way than typically trees that kind of slant. But you can see this one is it's kind of long, and so we're just going to cut it back. I would like to get some growth further in on the trunk, but what I found, and we'll just start by taking the top stuff off, just the long stuff initially, which is what I often like to do, just kind of give it a quick profile prune and then come in here and really select branches. But you can see this is got quite a number of leaves on it here. I'm just trying to get in there. There we go. Um, this one's sort of going to the inside of the tree, so that's really not something that I can use. It'll just look stranger and stranger as it develops, so just get rid of it. And this, some more straight upright growth, just take it off. Rather get some movement and angles and changes in direction, and this is kind of the main first branch. And a lot of it's fairly upright. I often think I'm just going to shorten it and get rid of the stuff that's straight up. I've thought maybe I could wire it a bit. I may end up just shortening this a fair bit more because it's not exactly straight up. It's kind of out at an angle, but it looks kind of weird compared to the rest of the tree. But I'll just keep pruning for now. I often think I should just go ahead. There's a one way in the inside, and I always thin out the top because they grow very, very quickly and heavily in the top. So to keep the tree in balance, you typically have to prune that more often. I think I've shown this tree on the channel before, and I don't know, I think it has a nice shape. Like I sort of like how it looks, and I'm struggling to decide if I should sort of wire some of these branches down or either with wrapping wire, because you see if I just pull it down, it's a little more charming. And so I sort of, you can pull the branch down like this and sort of prune it, really get a good look at it and make it tighter and sort of get rid of anything growing the wrong way. But I've thought of wiring this or using guy wires to pull the branches down because I think I'm sort of oscillating between that, just going with kind of the more upright branches, or just cutting it back really hard and sort of growing finer stuff out that direction. But we'll see where we end up at the end of the day here. You can see this one in the back. It does have some nice branches and some nice bark, but like the leaves are kind of way out on these long branches, and I really want to get more growth further in. And Portulacaria Afra are really good at kind of back budding, especially if you have a lot of segments. So I think if I just cut this back hard, I could have a much more compact tree. Um, so yeah, I'll keep that in mind. I don't think I'm going to do that today, but I may eventually do that. I'm going to play around with. I mean, I can always cut it back hard and grow it, right? um, and sometimes I think to myself, Tom, have a few different style trees. Like, I sort of really like this really small, really compact, dense kind of miniature tree, and sometimes um, I think I should branch out maybe a little bit more or consider some other options. And so I may do that with this tree. And that's kind of a good thought for the day. I mean, I think it's a natural thing. We all sort of have a style we like. And, a lot of bonsai is manipulating the tree. I mean, you're sort of starting and you want to use the natural shape and the natural tendency that the tree has. And cut this one shorter, maybe even shorter, um, and kind of work with what the tree has. Kind of work with what you're given. Um, but kind of the heart wants what the heart wants, and sometimes uh, you have a style you really like, and if the tree has the potential to go in that direction, I've noticed many bonsai artists kind of have a lot of trees that are a similar style. So that's something to watch out for. Maybe that's a good thought for the day. I think any kind of growth, really for a bonsai or a person, is really kind of getting a bit out of your comfort zone and challenging yourself a bit, and then kind of growing. So I'm really thinning it out now, and it's kind of see this is what like it doesn't have a classic shape, but I'm sort of liking the tree regardless of that. And so sometimes, if that's the case, I just kind of keep going and just keep working on it until I'm really sure that I do want to take it in a specific direction. Because this tree also, it hasn't been growing roots very long, and so I really like it to be super, super strong before I really hammer it back. So I think I've kind of almost got the profile pruning done. I'm seeing this, and I could flatten it out like this, as I said before. But also, there's not a whole lot of taper on this branch, and I sort of have a 1 to 3 going on here. And so I think I'll just start that way. I think that looks a lot better already. And I'm wondering, does this even add anything? Because it kind of comes straight out at us and kind of up, and I think I'm just going to take it off. I think that's way better. You really kind of want to go from 1 to 2 so you don't get a lot of swelling, and now I can sort of see that branch coming out, and I can see more of it. This is kind of similar. It's got this long stuff on the end, and it's a healthy tree, so I think I will get a reasonable amount of kind of back budding. So I'm just going to cut it to roughly where I think it should be. And you try to figure out the direction of the leaf. You can kind of backtrack from the main leaf, but it's kind of early for that, so I'm just going to cut it back. Um, Same thing here, I think. Maybe not. I was going to cut it back hard, but that sort of looks like a decent profile, so I think I'll leave it there for now. See what happens. So do a little more on the top here. The top grows very aggressively, so you can be a bit more, harsh with it. And also, it's kind of this is kind of a long branch here. Let's see. I'll cut that out because I don't want it going up. So that way these two leaves will come out this way and get a flatter branch, which I think will be nice. This is kind of a big, kind of looks odd from this angle because we have this top section sort of quite a bit out over the one below it. But I think I'll let it go for now because I can always, like if I do wire it, then it'll be fine because bringing that other branch down kind of brings it in profile. So I think this is about it for this tree for the moment. I think it's much better than when we started. I have it cut back. Now we have opportunity for much more light to get in there and hit the trunk and all those branches, and I'm sure I'll get some back budding. And I'm not in a hurry, right? I mean, I've kind of come to think of some of these trees as, you know, prune it and enjoy the shape. This is kind of sits in my office, and I find them all charming, no matter what stage they're in, and just really enjoy having them around. But I like them to look like they're sort of reasonably kept, and if you just glance at this, nothing sort of eye poking kind of juts out at you too much. So I think, the future of this tree, I've got kind of a bar branch here. This one's kind of on the inside. I'm tempted to just cut it off. Or I could take this off and that would kind of look good. So I have to figure out like this bar branch and this, like, what am I going to do? But I don't have to do it now. It's not swelling. But eventually I may just take that off. So I think I probably will. But it really depends on that left branch because then I have two on the left side going up, and it sort of is over on this side. I'd like to shorten this up because it's too long now. But if I get some back branching, I'll cut that back. Kind of looks okay this way. I mean, you sort of want it to be three-dimensional, right? So you want kind of some growth coming out the front and the sides. Um, just thin some of the leaves out here that are growing in the wrong direction so the tree can concentrate growing where I want it. But yeah, there's some long leggy stuff, but for now, maybe I could take the whole top off and that could be the new top. All kinds of options. So I think I will put it back on the bench for now and we'll see. I think overall I just want it to be more compact and kind of this shape. And so I will kind of go in that direction for now. And with that in the future. And for now, this little tree is a wrap. So next up, I want to work on this little variegated Portulacaria Afra, which has really been running and growing robustly and and stretching its legs. It's in a cute little Japanese pot, which I really like. It has a lot of detail with these cloud feet, and it's clay, which I have a soft spot for. I love clay pots. I love blue pots. I love purple pots, but I've been having trouble finding the right trees for those. But yeah, this thing is growing really well. Give you a little look at the pot here. Um, and yeah, it needs to be cut back. This is also like, just a large cutting off a much bigger tree, and then I stuck it in water and then stuck it in here, and it looks very, very happy. This is sort of my really stumpy style tiny tree that I like, so I have really let this grow on way too long. I'm going to cut this off and and yeah, really. I mean, I don't know. These are one, two, three, four. I think I have like over 10 sets of leaves, and even leaves, when they sort of the branches come out and they're growing new branches. So this one really likes the environment it's been living in, looks super healthy. So let's start off by just kind of cutting it back to get it into shape. Like this long stuff just kind of going for the sky. There's no taper, there's no interesting movement. So I just cut it off, and like when you do that, you want to cut it off to a point where you have leaves pointing in the direction where you want the new branch. Um, And some of these, I think this might be the second time I pruned this because I think you'll notice with trees over time as you prune them more, um, you're kind of getting rid of the stuff that's just crossing or going a completely bad direction. And so over time, you get less and less of that, and you're getting more of the stuff kind of growing where you want it. Because I don't really see anything here. I'm just basically just shortening things up. But this is just a charming little tree. I think it's got a nice thick um, canopy, and I kind of like these little trees. It's sort of I think I need to get some more stuff coming up the front, but at the same time, it's kind of a strong, straight up trunk in a teeny little pot, and I just think it's very, very charming. So I'm just gonna thin it out a bit here. Really just a chance to get, kind of some smaller leaves and sort of this kind of, I don't know, fine micro pruning where I'm really kind of coming in and just getting not only branches but leaves that are sort of, kind of going in the wrong direction to make it a little sparser. I like to get rid of the leaves that are growing down. And yeah, this is kind of a bit thick on the top, so I want to thin that out a little. Be careful when you're doing like fine detailed work like this. It helps that I have these super sharp scissors, but it's very easy to kind of nip your thumb or your finger, and I used to do that for years, and finally, I don't know, I guess you develop a skill to know exactly where the end of that the scissors are, because I haven't done that in a while, but I just remember having a constant sort of a callus on the end of my finger because I would sort of just slightly nip it, as you're doing this, who knows, maybe hundreds of times in a day, it's easy to have that happen. So be a little careful. I mean, I know some people actually wear gloves. I just can't kind of adapt to that. Just feels weird to me. So, but I guess if I were cutting my fingers badly, that would be preferable. But I also want to say too, like these trees, like doing these larger cuttings, it really is a great way to have you sort of have a mother tree that you need to prune anyway, and so you get all these smaller trees. This is just straight and kind of uninteresting, so I'm just going to cut that back. But you get all these smaller trees that are just charming, and because the trunk is, even though they're very small, the trunk is quite thick in comparison to the other elements, which is what you want in a bonsai. So it's fun to work kind of in the miniature like this, and you end up just getting a lot of kind of adorable little trees that are very fun and easy to work with, and kind of curl my toes. So yeah, I think this one is almost done. Maybe make a few little tweaks here and there, but I always like to clear the soil of any debris, right? And I do have some wire on here. I think I'll just leave it on. This one hasn't been in here that long. This is kind of straight up. I think I'll get rid of that. Flatten out that first branch a bit. Um, this tree, it almost has too much of a stumpy look, but I think as I get some more, ramification on some of these branches, that will take care of itself. And the tree will become wider. But I think it looks pretty good. We've already done kind of a mini lap, mini victory lap. So, I just want to say as I finish up here, thanks so much for watching and spending time with me. And I really love doing the channel, and I love the feedback from you folks. And I'll see you all again very, very soon.